my testing matrix, and then I'm going to need to also make the
we lost Ryan.
Yeah.
Okay, so Catherine, I'll let you go. Oh, no, there's Ryan back. Sorry.
And hi, Lisa.
You had just started talking, Ryan. And yeah. I just noticed now that Joelle, sorry, we cut off your stand-up, but I think that's okay. But yeah, Ryan, go ahead and
continue. Sorry, I don't know how much I got in before I disconnected, but basically finished up the last of my coding changes for MVP and started working on my testing matrices, both the testing one and then the scenario one also.
Great to hear that. Catherine.
I'm working on the appeals brief appendix. The uploads, we met with Quentin this week with Aubrey to kind of figure out how to upload each document separately so that each one can have like an explanation instead of just dumping or just having one upload and not having an explanation for each item the person has to gather. And I also worked on the macro outline for the procedural history for the appeals brief, and I've written out most of the questions for that. So now it's just kind of adding like the bells and whistles and special features to those questions. And that's all.
Great. Any blockers so far? I guess I should have been asking that for everybody, but.
I only kind of just started looking at the exhibits, so I'm sure there's tons of blockers, but I haven't figured out which ones just specifically yet.
All right. Oh yeah, and something to check in. I guess just raise your hand or add a reaction. I think for most people, next week is their last week. Is that right? So, okay. Yeah, and I guess just something to think about over the next week is making sure there are issues for anything that's outstanding, that's not finished. And to whatever extent there's things like, hey, I can wrap this up, it's an MVP, but it's missing features and have a complete working thing. That'll be great, but I recognize not everybody will get there in the next week. So just something to start thinking about. Shauna, you're up next.
Kajal and I met with Caroline this morning. We just went over a plain language review for our form. So we have new changes to make to our form.
All right, and Kajal, anything that you wanted to add? No, okay. All right, so we've gone through all of the students, unless there's anything anyone wanted to add as far as blockers go that you didn't cover. Michelle, do you want to go next?
Sure, I don't have a lot to report. Health-wise has been a little bit difficult, so doing what I can. Working on testing stuff and issues that come up.
Oh, and you built that cool county lookup widget for
yes. It only looks up Massachusetts counties, but it does do that at least. So if you know the town you're at, you can put the town in and it will tell you your county. And then you can click on the very confusing CDC transmission tracker website, where you have to enter in all your information again because the CDC does not provide a way to send someone straight to their county. But at least you know your county at that point. So that part works. Yeah.
All right. So Lisa, anything you want to share? I missed, I think you had a presentation earlier this week that I missed, but.
No, I wanted to thank everybody again. I gave Aubrey another shout out. She thanked me, I thanked her back. Thanks to everybody for having me. And it was really helpful because I'm actually tweaking my Biteable video and updating it in English and Spanish on a couple of the resources, adding some different and maybe less annoying music and just tweaking one of the labels. So it was really helpful to demo this in front of a different crowd. And a crowd with a different angle. So I hope it's helpful to you guys. So.
Great. Yeah, no, it's nice to have outside input in our group too. So thanks for the reciprocity. And Bryce, I'll let you go next.
Yeah. Did a kind of did a demo with Jefferson Parish yesterday. It wasn't quite working live, but it turned out it was just because there was some extra blacklist on ports that was on the e-filing server. But either way, we made some progress there, at least in terms of next steps. And I spent most of this morning trying to figure out HTTPS stuff. Still sort of going on that. I'm going to try not to spend too much time, but I feel like I'm close. But yeah.
Was that Jefferson Parish, Louisiana? Sorry to jump on.
Yes. Yeah. There were. Yeah.
Oh, so you're working with. It's funny, we don't always have time to share communications. I assume you're working with maybe Lagniappe Law Lab or the Pro Bono project on that. Or?
Yes. Yeah. They're one of our partners. Lagniappe is sort of working with us to write some DocAssembly interviews, and where Jefferson Parish has their own little e-filing system that we're integrating with. So
yeah, and Jefferson has a really nice set of online forms in, as you probably know already, in like PDF format. So they've got the forms drafting part done. But I'm just curious, which particular items are you working on? Just so if I hear about it again from another corner, I'll know. Because Amanda hasn't announced it yet locally too much. So
yeah, at least the ones we've been working on is there's a name change form, and I think a 103 divorce. I don't know if there were any. I don't think there were any other plans for other ones. I don't know, Quentin, if you remember any other ones, but yeah.
Yeah, they have a good name. Their name change form is very basic. It would be a good model maybe for statewide use. Yeah. And the divorce. So it's good to know about the divorce form, because we already know that there's so many floating around out there, and they're supposed to be statewide forms. So like based on what you do there, that might aid in the automation of like the actual, like my grant was first supposed statewide form too, and then another entity will come up with something different. So it's really helpful to know that's in the works and that it'll be coupled with the e-filing element, which will be really helpful. Thanks for that update.
Yeah, I think that the goal there is to have statewide forms. And I'm not sure like how they're moving through the committee, like if all the forms that are being worked on are definitely already statewide, but that was a selection goal. And then it just happens to be that Jefferson Parish is the one that we can do e-filing integration with, but they'll be on a statewide DocAssembly server that the Supreme Court's going to be hosting.
Yes.
Yeah, and the judge there is the head of the tech committee he's really great. I've gone to CLEs with him. We've collaborated on other projects, and he'll definitely support y'all. So that's really a boost for you. That's great to hear that's going on. Sometimes the news travels in strange ways, and I know there's a meeting coming up where they're probably going to report all this, but I may be traveling then, so I'll have a little advance notice. Thanks again.
Yeah. So just to close things up, I'll go just briefly. So I this week was out at the beginning of the week, but came back doing some work on Illinois fee waiver, finishing up the e-filing piece that I could do without having to know all the internals to help out Bryce a little bit. And then yesterday we kind of had this issue with some of the appeals court forms that were live that I think we've resolved. Hopefully we can check in on that. Next.
When did y'all have most of that resolved by?
By like the end of the early evening, so like by 6:37 p.m.
Okay.
Set by then.
I was just confused because there was we get like notifications when we have errors on the production server now, and I just checked those out this morning just because I was like, oh, I can see them now. And there were a few also in the civil docketing statement that I couldn't reproduce, and I couldn't figure out how it would have been happening if just this variable couldn't be found when it's found in every possible way I go through the interview. So I wasn't, and that was at 10 later that night, and I wasn't sure why that was happening, or if it was
you were having
factoring.
You were having the error on the production server, or really?
Unless maybe it was 10 on the previous night, but
I see. Yeah, that was one of the things that I caught from and followed up on when I was trying to audit the forms. I don't see anything from around 10 p.m., but I saw that error came back at 6:30 because I just had to I had to update the version of the Mass Appeals Court package on the production server. It was out of date. And in order to do that, I had to make sure that all the interviews that depended on it wouldn't break. So that was mostly what I was doing yesterday. So that was where that question, the missing variable, came from. It was from the Mass Appeals Court repository.
Okay.
And it wasn't added until a version that was not installed on the server.
That's fair. Okay. The dates also, the times seemed, I think the times just might be weird.
Is the wrong time zone or something? Or
it might be the wrong time zone. I'm realizing just because there's a current email from 1:40 today.
okay.
So,
Also, does it
hour.
send it right
Must be.
away, or does it send it on a delay? Like, does it check it every like 2 hours or 5 hours? Or
it should
something?
send it right away.
It sends it right away. But yeah,
Okay.
I think what's happening is that Bryce's email client's in UTC, because mine is showing the right time.
Sure.
Yeah, that could be something. I don't know how it's set up.
Not-
How it
not
works,
set
so that's
right.
probably my fault. Okay.
Well, yeah, so I started to think about that, like how to handle regressions that have to do with different dependencies. Anyway, we'll have to think about that, and probably not appropriate for the stand-up, but something we can hopefully talk about a little bit more on Monday. So I just wanted to reopen it again to see if anyone had any blockers. We have about 15 minutes before we hit Casual Friday. People can obviously go early on Friday if they want, but if anyone wanted to use this time to ask questions and get help to get past something they're stuck on, this would be a good time to do it. Anybody want to just show something they were working on that they wanted to get a little feedback on? It's another thing you could do.
I was going to say, I know Kevin had asked about like pulling branches and stuff, and just like pulling and starting another branch in the playground. I'll just see if you were able to get through that.
I was, yeah.
Cool.
I didn't want to screw something up.
Yeah.
That's good.
Do you want to share anything about that, Catherine, just for other people who might have the same need in the future?
What do you mean?
You'll just like say like what you learned and how you solved the problem.
Well, because we were working on two different sections, the macro outline and then the exhibits. And so I did most of my macro outline, and then I wanted to start working on the exhibits, but I wanted obviously the two different playgrounds. And so I'm waiting for the original one with all the macro questions to be merged into the main branch. But since Aubrey's gone, I can't do that, and I wanted to keep going, but not screw up what I already had. So obviously, I just pulled from the branch that was good and most up to date, and made a new playground. And then I haven't pushed it to GitHub yet because I haven't made any changes. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy. I wasn't sure. I started to like replicate it, but I didn't know if that would end up screwing something because I didn't pull it from GitHub. So I'm glad I asked instead of doing that.
Yeah. So just a note that you will push it to a new branch so that it doesn't interfere with the old branch.
Yes.
And that what you created is not a new playground, it's a new project. So that's just the vocabulary of what you're doing.
Okay.
You want to manage projects and you create a new project.
Yeah.
And then you go to the playground of that project.
Yes, that's what I did.
Yeah, perfect.
Playground project, I feel is a fine descriptor though, because project itself is a vague term that can refer to like 5 different things.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it says new project. That's like the button. So that's just the vocabulary we use for it. So.
And I end up using the same word for almost everything, which confuses everyone. So it's okay to let me know which one's right, because everything's code to me.
Yeah, makes sense. Package is also a good confusing one.
Anything else someone wanted to share, like a tip or success? Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't have the same energy as Aubrey does. So sorry that thanks for putting up with my management of stand-up today.
Yeah.
And given that, we will shift to casual mode a little early.